Before moving to Fargo, North Dakota, which is the biggest and fastest growing city here in the state of North Dakota and one of the fastest growing in the whole entire Midwest, people have a lot of different questions. This area is very different than other parts of this country, and in this video I'm going to be breaking down 8 of the top questions I get asked when people move or relocate to this Fargo-Moorhead area. If you're new to the channel, I'm Sykora. I'm a Fargo real estate agent, and I have a lot of people who reach out who are interested in buying a home or selling a home or moving to this area of the Fargo-Moorhead metro. If that sounds like you can be next. You can just go ahead through my calendar link in the description below to schedule a call, and we can get you started on a move to or from this area. This video might be a little bit different than my normal videos. It's going to be a Q&A style where questions, as you can see on the chapters below, to skip around if you want to. Questions people have about Fargo, and I'm just going to answer them, give you guys some information about this area if you're considering moving here or if you do already live here in Fargo. So let's jump right into it. What are special assessment taxes? So special assessment taxes are something that is really unique to this Fargo area. It's a separate tax from your normal property tax for improvements on your property. So let's say, for example, there's a street that needs some new sewer lines or some new water lines. So of course the city's gonna have someone come in and do that work on those city and sewer lines. And then within that radius of that area where those properties are improved, they will be hit with special assessment taxes to pay for that project to replace those sewer lines. So this is kind of like a second loan. Usually they can get a little bit of a lower interest rate than the normal market interest rates, but these loans will be paid on top of your normal property taxes. So this can range a lot all over the Fargo-Moorhead area. The areas of new construction sometimes have higher specials. The houses recently built, those areas have higher specials just because there wasn't infrastructure in those areas before and it was being built and all those specials are being put on, compared to some areas where there's zero specials or no specials, like the older areas of town, North Fargo, Hawthorne, those areas. Some of them do have a little bit of specials for maybe some little work, but a lot of areas do have some specials or they do have zero specials. So it's just something to keep in mind that sometimes the list price on a house does not tell the whole story of what a house actually costs you as a buyer and what your monthly payment looks like. So that's why it's really important to just shop around and make sure you know what you're looking for. Make sure you get pre-approved early when you are deciding to buy a home here. Of course, you can always pay your specials off at any time. So let's say, for example, you're at a house, they're having some work done on the street, and the specials for that is around $5,000 total. Then it's gonna be in installments every single year. You know, say it's $500 more a year, so divide that by 12. That's what it's added to your monthly payment. But of course, you can always pay these down at any time if you just wanna have zero specials and just pay that $5,000 right away. But this is something that's really unique to Fargo, and kind of part of the reason why it's been able to grow so fast is having these special assessment taxes, that we don't have to wait on state or federal funding for some of these projects. Obviously, the bad part is that owners end up having to pay more money and higher taxes here. It's another thing that has helped Fargo grow so much as it has. And I actually have a full video breaking down special assessments of why we even have them in the first place, some other ways they work and examples if you want to click on the top right of this video right now to go and watch that. But that's kind of special assessments. We have them here in Fargo. A lot of places, even in North Dakota and across the Midwest, do not have them. Something unique to this area and something people learn when they move to this Fargo-Moorhead metro. How cold do the winters actually get in Fargo? So of course, being in the Midwest, winters is something people always talk about no matter where they're moving from, whether they're moving across the world to here or across the country or even across the state. It's always the winters people talk about. Of course, it does get really cold here. The big part, it not necessarily gets cold, it's just the wind chill that makes it super, super cold. So Fargo and Moorhead being on a flat area, there's not too many hills, there's not too many big forests here. It's really flat. So when you have wind and it gets super windy and it is a little bit cold out, then the temperatures can easily get below zero and even to -20 or -30 degrees during the winter. We'll have snow, 4 or 5 months out of the year. Sometimes it'll snow as early as September, October, and other times it won't snow until December. Last year particularly, we had literally almost zero snow. It was also really cold this year, but it will be snowy and it will be cold. On average, we can have 40 to 50 inches of snow per year. And the temperatures and wind chill is the big thing. January here, the average temperature is around 7 degrees Fahrenheit. But again, like I said, with that wind chill, it can routinely get below zero and even a -20 or -30 degrees below zero. So some big things for winter is just to make sure you get used to driving in the snow if you haven't before, and you have a good snow blower and shovel if you do live in a house or apartment or whatever. Just be ready for it. Give yourself a little bit more time to get to work in the morning or get to wherever you're going, just to adapt for the conditions here in Fargo, North Dakota. What is the cost of living in Fargo, North Dakota? Fargo is a really affordable place to live and has a really low cost of living. The cost of living index score is around 90, 92, when the national average is 100. Now, a couple of reasons for this. One of the main ones is being the taxes in North Dakota. The taxes are really low on income especially. It gets from 0% to a little bit above 3% for the highest bracket. When you especially compare that to our sister state of Minnesota, where the taxes are above 3.5% for the lowest bracket. So, combine this with if you make some good money here in Fargo, then it goes a little bit farther than it would in other states. Then also the houses are slightly below the average, and the big changes are rents. The rents here are really below the average across the country, making it really affordable. Then of course, food is really affordable here, where there's a ton of farmers and farmland, ranchers all surrounding this Fargo-Moorhead area. If you've ever been here before, it's just straight fields, farmland. So the food here is really affordable. The one section of this market that is more expensive than other places across the country is the healthcare. Now, obviously the reason for this being, it's gonna take more money to pay these professionals to come out to a city of Fargo than comparing it to like a city of Minneapolis, to a city of Chicago, to places like that. So healthcare is more expensive here in Fargo than other things, but when you take all the different categories combined and you combine them together, Fargo is a very affordable place to live, and that's one of the reasons people love to live here. What is the job market like? Fargo does have a really strong job market, with the unemployment rate being only at 2.3%, which is lower than the national average and is really good when you compare it to other cities. There's a lot of major employers here, one of the big ones being healthcare with Essentia and Sanford, but then also the schools. So obviously all the high schools being teachers, coaches, that sort of thing. Then also the colleges here. Fargo, I would consider it a college town. You have NDSU and you have MSUM on the Moorhead side, Concordia, M-State. There's a lot of different colleges here in the area compared to the size of the city. So that's a big employer for everybody. And then of course, it's a great place to start companies. A lot of companies are headquartered here, like Bobcat is a major one, so a lot of people work there. Microsoft also has a company here. There's a lot of different businesses like that. And the nice thing about Fargo is it's very diverse in what you can do for work. It's not just one business, or it's not just one factory that has run this whole area. There's a ton of different things and a ton of different variety for people and their jobs here. Of course, making a good place to live, but then also the unemployment rate is low, so it has good structure and good availability for people's jobs who are looking to move to this area. What is the culture like in the Fargo-Moorhead metro? So culture is a big thing people talk about when they compare this area of the Midwest to other places across the country. Which one thing is just being the Midwest nice? It is a very real thing. People are nicer here than they would be in other areas across the country. I have seen that, especially when I have buyers who move from out of state or different areas. They say people are just nice here, your neighbors are nice, people are nice in grocery stores, that sort of thing. But another thing with the culture and art scene here, that's what I think makes Fargo so desirable comparing it to other places in North Dakota, is it's being a big city. It does have a downtown scene, it does have an art scene, so there's a lot for people to do, and it's a lot for people to do who have different tastes. So if you like the art museums, that sort of thing, there's people here for that. There's things here for that. If you like the sports, there's that here. There's a good mix of everything here, which I think makes it a really good culture, brings in a lot of diversity. There's also a ton of great food options here in Fargo for every type of food you can imagine. That again, when you compare it to the rest of the state of North Dakota, where there's a little bit more smaller towns, they're not growing as much as Fargo does. I think that's part of the reason, is because how diverse and how many different options there are in Fargo, just for everything, just for food, entertainment, purposes like that, and just people being nice here, that your friends and family are here. So why would you want to leave? Which is, I think, a lot of the reason why people don't leave here. Even though the winters are one thing people do not like about living here, a lot of people still do live here regardless, because of the culture of this Fargo-Moorhead area. What is there to do for fun around here? Now, there's a lot of different things to do for fun here in Fargo for people of all ages and people of all interests, no matter what time of year it is, even in the winter. So one of the main ones is sports. There's a lot of different sports teams here, not just high school. One of the main ones is college. NDSU football team is a big one, basketball, volleyball. They have all the sports there. Then there's some also mid-major teams here, like the Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks. Then also the Fargo Force, which is a hockey team. So there's sports to do here year round, and people love to do that. People are very passionate about sports here, especially the North Dakota State Bison, one of the best FCS football teams in the whole entire country. But another thing is that there's things for people to do of all interests. So the young adults who like the downtown scene, the nightlife scene, downtown Fargo has some great things for that. For the people that like the art museums, the culture scene, there's museums and culture places for people to go to for that. Then also for the kids, there's a million different water parks, there's sweet shots, there's bowling alleys, there's so many different things. There's gonna be a new slide park coming in Fargo. There's things to do for people of all ages and all times throughout the year. You have those indoor activities like bowling, or sweet shots can be an indoor activity, escape rooms during the winter. Then during the summer, there's a million different parks here, outdoor water parks, places to go outside just to get outdoors during the summer. A lot of people here do choose to go out to the lakes region during the summer too, to enjoy what the lakes have to offer. and that's another very positive thing about Fargo. Its location is that it's only 45 minutes an hour away to some of the lakes in Minnesota. So that's a really good thing and gives people a lot to do here, not just during the summer, not just during the winter, but year round for all ages and all different interests. What is the housing market like in Fargo? Now, the Fargo housing market is actually really unique. With all the new houses being built, a lot of people moving here, there's a ton of new construction happening, especially down in Horace, in West Fargo and South Fargo. But then there's also a lot of previous home sales too. I've seen it slow down a little bit. It really depends on what your goals are when buying or selling a home, what price point you're at, what type of house you're looking for, or what type of house you're selling, on what the market is specifically like. But I will say the inventory here in Fargo is lower than it will be in other parts across the country, but also the prices are lower. It'd be a really good market to get into new construction just because there's so many different ones available compared to previously owned homes. But it really also depends on your situation. Now, of course, being a real estate agent, I see it all the time. There's so many different options out there, and it really, again, depends on your situation. What type of house are you looking for? What is your time frame? Those sort of things. So if you want more information on what the housing market is like for your specific niche of the market, you can reach out to me by scheduling a call through the link in the description, or you can also check out some of the other market videos I make on my channel. Once a month, I'll make a market breakdown of what the market is doing right now to actually see the numbers, see where we're at. But the main thing you need to know is that here in Fargo, there is more buyers than sellers in the first-time home buyer market. So anything $350,000 and under, that is a really busy section of the market. A lot of multiple offers, a lot of people looking, good price when selling, that sort of thing. So low inventory here in Fargo, but the new construction market is a really great one for people looking to get into it. So it really depends on what you're looking for or what your interests are when looking in the housing market. How old are the people that live in Fargo? So Fargo's population age is also really spread out. Being an area with, like I said before, a couple colleges, it is very much a college town. So those ages are a little bit lower, but then it's also a great place that a lot of people love to retire, or maybe they're their kids that live here or family members that live here. So they move back to Fargo from a small town or something like that. So the median age in Fargo is actually 31, which is really low when you can look at it compared to other places across the country. But with this too, Fargo is also a retirement town. So I think what I've kind of seen in Fargo is that spread out all ages of people. A lot of different people live here. It's just that generally young people live here because of the colleges, because of that downtown scene. But there is a lot of retirement age people here, older people here who just like this culture and like this area. So very spread out, but the average age of a person here in Fargo is around 31 years old. Thanks for watching this video on some of the 8 questions I get asked about Fargo-Moorhead when people are thinking about moving here. If you're thinking about moving here, you can reach me through my contact information in the description below and tell me what your thoughts are on this style of video compared to some of the other videos I've done in the past. Thanks for watching.